Welcome back to Charm and Circumstance. This is your host, Ashley Bruggeman. Okay, so we've seen Mahjong everywhere we look, literally everywhere. And if you're like me, you have friends who are borderline obsessed and own multiple boards and tile sets, have a weekly game night, and are uber competitive. These same friends are the ones who taught me to play and inspired today's topic. As I watched them collect various styles and color themes, I couldn't help but think of how this is no different than hosting a dinner or event where you design an actual tablescape, which brings us to the title of this episode, the Mahjong Tablescape. Mahjong is more than just a game. It's about connection, ritual, and a touch of glamour. And just like any gathering, the setting matters. Whether you're hosting your regular group or planning a special evening, the way you style the table elevates the whole experience. In this episode, I'm going to share how to create a Mahjong tablescape that feels chic, fun, and welcoming, from color palettes to accessories to snacks. From floor plans to 5-year plans, business to finding balance, I'm Ashley Bruggeman, an interior designer with a love for beautiful living and a belief that style and substance go hand in hand. I'm pulling back the curtain on design, resilience, and entrepreneurship. Expect real talk, refined tips, and just the right mix of polish and personality. So pour something sweet and join me for a thoughtful conversation with a generous helping of charm and circumstance. Mahjong is more than a game. It's actually a ritual and a social tradition. Do you remember the movie Crazy Rich Asians? This was my only exposure to Mahjong before my friends introduced me to playing. Mahjong originated in China in the mid-19th century, though there is a legend that suggests it was invented by Confucius. The game spread internationally in the early 20th century, gaining significant popularity in Japan, the United States, and the UK. The American version became a social staple for various communities, particularly Jewish Americans, who helped standardize it with annual playing cards and a larger set of tiles, including the jokers. The name Mahjong translates roughly from Mandarin to the game of sparrows. American businessman Joseph P. Babcock is credited with bringing the game to the United States in the early 1920s. I bet you wish it had been you. Aside from catching up with friends, if you're far enough along in your understanding of the game to even allow for conversation while you play, and enjoying some snacks and drinks, is the aesthetic appeal of the game sets. From the mat to the tiles, the sliders, the tablecloth, the lamp, the storage components, and then the hosting elements like themed out napkins and serverware. More than all of the pretty items to collect for your tablescape is the excuse to get together with friends and maybe even to open up your own home and play hostess for the night. Our moms had bunco at our age. You could easily carry on a conversation or even have a few drinks and still end up screaming bunco at some point because there is no strategy. But Mahjong is a whole different game. It's nothing but strategy. So until you develop your skills, the conversations have to take place before and after the game itself. You can actually buy Mahjong sets from many different places. The most bougie are by far from Oh My Mahjong, where a set of tiles will cost you right around $450. Yep, that's right. And the full game set will cost $1,000. These are sold online on their website, and there are many gift shops around the country with brick and mortar stores who also sell the Oh My Mahjong sets. If you're not looking to invest $1,000 into your new Mahjong obsession, well, you can look to Amazon, of course. So for under $100, you can get everything but the mat, which you could technically go without. And finally, don't forget about Etsy, where you can find hand-painted mats, more tiles, sliders, Mahjong tablecloths, shirts, hats, and even jewelry. So maybe you just learned to play by taking a class, or you were invited to a friend's house where they taught you to play. Now you're interested in getting your own set, but you aren't sure where to start. So let's start with the tiles. The tiles range from a more traditional set that has all of the different aspects, the dots, the bamboo, crack, and winds on them in a traditional, more Chinese looking image. But in our true consumerism fashion, American retailers have launched many, many different styles of tiles that are themed out to areas of the country. Southern tiles and Western tiles and cowboy themes and glitter themes. I really don't even understand that one. There's just all sorts of themes you can go with, which I will say does make it a little more tricky from a novice like me. When you go around and play on different people's sets, you really have to almost like relearn what it is you're looking at, because it's not clear that a flower is a flower from one set to the other, or that the crack is the same thing from one set to the other. The tiles can be gorgeous, and there is something really bizarre about the sound of the clacking of the tiles. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure there's something psychological there. However, the really expensive tiles from Oh My Mahjong are so beautiful. I really do hate to see people store them in bags because you've spent a fortune on them, literally. I'm waiting actually for a set that I have decided to invest in that hasn't been launched yet, and you better believe I am going to pour those suckers into a crystal bowl or something. I mean, for $450, they're going to sit out, and I want to look at them every day. So then the tiles can determine the mat that you select. So a lot of sets will come as a complete set with a mat and tiles that match. Or if you don't want to be super matchy-matchy about it, you could put together your own style. And that's what I did. I ended up ordering a hand-painted mat, which costs the same, by the way, as these other mats. It's like $100 on Etsy, and just coordinated the colors. Of course, I don't really get to see this in person together, so I'm hoping it works. Fingers crossed. And then you can, in making these decisions, really go with super pinked out theme or blues and greens. Imagine that I would go with blues and greens, or a softer, more neutral palette, or a more masculine palette if you're trying to force your husband or boyfriend to play. So there's also seasonal inspiration. There are Christmas themed sets. There are pastels for spring and jewel tones for winter, and you can add different textures. So between the lacquer trays, velvet napkins, rattan or bamboo accents, you can add all layer of elements to the tablescape. The sliders are another way that you can differentiate your set from anyone else's. There are many different sliders to choose from. My experience has been that they can come in a little bit of different lengths, which is a little bizarre. I ended up choosing an clear acrylic set that actually has a scalloped edge to it for something a bit different. There is a gorgeous tortoiseshell slider set that one of my girlfriends has that I really adore. And just the texture of it is really amazing. And I think that those, again, range in price, whether you're ordering on Amazon or through Oh My Mahjong. There's going to be a bit of a difference there, but overall, it's not like the cost difference that you're going to see between tiles or mats. So the surface can matter in that the mats that come as Mahjong mats are designed with a bit of instructions around them. They're also made to be a material where you can easily slide the tiles across them. This is not by any means a requirement, and there are actually tablecloths that are made that will substitute for the mats. Again, I don't think it has to be a specific Mahjong tablecloth to play. If you were trying to be completely minimal with your Mahjong investment, you could go without a mat or a specific Mahjong tablecloth, but you would want to have something on your table if you're wanting to protect it. Otherwise, if it is a table, a solid wood table, that anything where you can easily slide tiles across it, it would work. So the lighting matters, and I think this was like something that kind of caught up to the Mahjong world as the battery operated lights really took center stage. And so the smaller battery operated or rechargeable lights that are marketed to counter kitchen tops or outdoor patio tables are a great fit for the center of the Mahjong mat. This is very helpful for those of us who are getting a bit older and are all of a sudden like half blind and trying to look across the playing table to see all the tiles that exist. And we're often playing, of course, in the evening when it's getting dark outside. And so it really does help to have that table lit up specifically for the game. Again, not a requirement, but very helpful. Then comes the actual tables. So there's a lot of game tables that have actually been sold long before Mahjong came along for checkers, chess, you name it. And these are square tables that are relatively small and set up for 4 people to sit around. These game tables that are now marketed specifically for Mahjong as well also will have like a little pull-out shelf that you could set a drink on. I personally cannot imagine using that because it would be right by the side of your arm or your elbow, and I could only imagine how easy it would be to knock a drink over after setting it there. So I'm just not wild about these game tables. I also think that there's just this crazy markup on them because of how popular they are right now. And I've played on these same sized card tables, smaller square tables before. You do have to have a separate little side table off to the side or in between players to set a drink or snacks or anything else, because the tables do not allow for you to set anything else really on the table with the full Mahjong set. I recently played on a small round table that seats 4 people, and it's just a normal patio table, and the Mahjong set was set out on it. It was a little more difficult for my vertically challenged friends to reach across the table when that was required in the game. I didn't struggle with it because I am 5'10", and so it was fine for me. I really enjoyed the round table setup because you totally had room to set a small plate of snacks or a drink right there on the corner of the table. And I don't know, I would prefer that. That's how I'm setting up play in my own house, is on a smaller round table. My shorter friends may not appreciate it as much, but you know, you get to make the calls for your own hostessing. So like I mentioned earlier, there are napkins and cups and plates and coasters and serverware and all manner of tchotchkes available for Mahjong. Clearly not required at all, and you could just go with a specific color theme in hosting your Mahjong games. with that said, we'll get to snacks and sips. So finger foods are the best option here if you're going to eat while you're playing. But it's important to remember that you want to choose finger foods that don't leave residue on your fingers, therefore on your tiles. So cheese cubes, fruit skewers, macaroons, everything but Cheez-Its and Doritos. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like the messiest type of finger foods there are. And of course, anything that might have a fork, if you happen to have that round table where somebody can easily have a small plate set up right in front of them, then, you would have more flexibility in what you're serving and setting in front of them. And then regarding drinks, of course, a lot of people are going to want to serve alcohol at these events. And let me tell you, I really can't have more than one drink playing Mahjong and be expected to show up at all for the game, because it requires so much concentration while you're still really getting the hang of it that it just becomes impossible to mix alcohol and Mahjong. However, there are pros out there, I know a few, who can down several drinks and still win and still concentrate and strategize and carry on conversations and all the things. So rock stars is what they are. Definitely have water options, non-alcoholic options, and, a fabulous bottle of wine or a cocktail. Speaking of cocktails, have you heard of the Mahjong Mule? Probably not. So I have put together a recipe that you can actually download on my website at ashleymorgan-interiors.com. It will be under the downloads section, and I'm going to link it here in the show notes. And this could be served as a non-alcoholic drink as well. But the alcoholic version is going to be vodka or gin if you prefer a floral twist, some fresh lime juice, elderflower liqueur, ginger beer, maybe a slice of cucumber, a sprig of mint, and you could get super bougie and go with an edible flower or lime wheel for extra tablescape charm. So don't forget to go download that recipe. Finally, you want to add a bit of personality to your hostessing night. So incorporate some personal flair, whether it's monogram napkins, themed glassware, custom scorecards if you keep score, which I don't know. I am not a scorekeeper type on this. I am here for the social aspect for sure. So if you do get invited to my house to play Mahjong once my set comes in, know that we're not keeping score. We don't roll like that over here. So then you also would want a mix of high and low. So some luxe accents with some playful details. You want people to be comfortable and feel relaxed and chill and not super uptight. You want to have fun with it. The goal is a vibe, chic, fun, relaxed. Enjoy this time with your friends, learning something new, having a drink or two, and listening to those tiles clicking. So the Mahjong Tablescape is about more than aesthetics. It's about honoring tradition, whether it's a Chinese tradition or a tradition of you hosting an event with your friends weekly, creating beauty and making people feel special when they sit down to play. With just a few thoughtful touches, your game night becomes an experience your friends look forward to week after week. Thanks for joining me in this episode of Charm and Circumstance. If you loved today's topic, share it with a Mahjong-loving friend and let me know how you style your own tablescape. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, here's to laughter, connection, and a little extra glamour at the game table. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on Charm and Circumstance. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along on Instagram, because charm is personal and circumstance is what you make of it.